and welcome back to our Workday Manager training here at Bob's. In this next session, we're going to be reviewing the termination process in Workday. For terminations, either managers or HR partners can initiate the process. The manager and the HR partner are also involved in the approval process. Before you begin processing a termination in Workday, you'll want to ensure that proper policies and procedures have been followed and appropriate approvals have already been received before initiating the termination process. Here, we're going to demonstrate a manager, Clyde Wright, initiating the voluntary termination of his employee, Eric Navarro. So you'll see here I'm signed into the Workday tenant and I've proxied in as Clyde Wright. We're going to go ahead and utilize the My Team worklet to launch the termination process. So right up here at the top, I've got this Actions panel. I'm going to go ahead and click on Terminate. I'm going to type in the employee's name. And I'll hit OK. The first step is to input the reason for the termination. So we said that Eric has voluntarily resigned, so we're going to go ahead and click into voluntary. We're going to pick the reason for the resignation. We'll go ahead and say that he's relocating. If there was a secondary reason for the termination, you'd be able to input that right here. It's not a required field. The next step is to input the termination date details. The termination date, the last day of work, and the paid through date will generally be the same. You would only want to change the paid through date if the employee should be paid past their termination date, as is the case in a severance pay agreement. The resignation date is the date that the employee gave notice. This field is optional. So we'll go ahead and we will click on a date. We'll say that Eric's last day is this coming Friday. And we'll see that the last day of work, as well as the pay through date, come up automatically for us. The employee is still considered active until midnight of the termination date. So as of midnight this Friday on the 24th, the employee will still be considered active. The last part down here is the position details. We will not be closing a position as we would like Eric's position or seat to remain for backfill. So we're not going to check on that. The next question, is this position available for overlap? We're going to go ahead and say no for that. For any termination that you process in Bob's for Workday, this is always going to be a no right here. We're not using this field at all for Bob's. Lastly, on the bottom here, there is some room to enter any free text comments that are applicable to the term. There's also a space where you can drop in files. So for this, you would likely have a resignation letter that you may want to drop in to this process. So you can simply select files from your drive, or you can just click and drag from any other area on your computer, and it'll drop right in there. If you mistakenly put the wrong file in, you can go ahead and hit this little trash can icon, and that will delete it. You can add a description, the category. We'll go ahead and just hit other for this. And finally, we'll go ahead and just hit submit. Okay. Next up is the HR partner who will review that termination request. At this point, the manager has completed the manager level task for the termination. The HR partner will receive this termination task in their Workday inbox and is responsible to place the final approval on the termination. In the case of an involuntary termination, an approval step is also sent to the second-level manager or the manager's manager. Once the termination processing is completed, managers will receive an offboarding to-do task in their inbox. This to-do task serves as a reminder to complete any offboarding activities required for your given location, such as collecting the employee's access badge or laptop. Let's take a look at an example offboarding task in Clyde's inbox. So here we see that we're in the Actions tab for his inbox, and we can scroll down here to find an offboarding task. So right here, we've got offboarding procedure for another terminated employee. And right here in this instructions field, this is where you're going to see the specific instructions for your line of business. This is a testing tenant, so we don't have that built out yet. But once we have this fully launched for Bob's, you should see some instructions here as a reminder. Once you've completed all of the offboarding tasks, you can go ahead and hit submit, and that task will be removed from your inbox. Thank you so much for joining us for this portion of our manager training on termination. That concludes our demonstration for the manager level termination process.